Cool. How are you
Hey
guys doing?
guys, this is Mongolian Mindset, and Thomas is not with us today. We're gonna be helping Eric find his personality type. Eric, we'll be asking questions. Um, you don't have to answer anything you don't feel like answering. Whatever you do say, we'll try to use to triangulate down on your best fit type. You're free to do with that, whatever you feel is needed. We'll also try to find your enneagram as well. Anything you want to talk about before and anything like that?
No, I think yeah, I'm ready to get right into it.
All right,
Thank
man.
you for having me.
No problem, brother. Can you introduce yourself? Let's see what we get here.
Yeah, sure. Maybe just starting from the timeline. And I guess like a little bit about why I had interest in personality types to begin with. So I think I was first introduced in high school. Essentially, they made us take the MBTI test first or second year. I forget
Mhm.
which year it was, but it was fairly early on in high school. So everyone took it. I kind of assumed that everyone would get similar types just because I went to a magnet high school and everyone was like very driven, very academic focused there. So I kind of thought everyone thought like me. And then I was kind of surprised to see the disparity in like the different personality types. So that was interesting. It kind of gave me a new perspective. But I think ever since then, I kind of been more focused on growth and like skill sets in general and just trying to like develop myself. So I think that kind of led me into okay, like looking at personality types, trying to identify flaws in myself and how to improve myself, things of that nature. Um, but yeah, that's just a little bit about why I got interested in the topic overall. Just a little bit about me background wise. So I'm in the United States, born in Virginia, so on the East Coast. Stayed there for like 18 years of my life. Went to college around in like the Midwest, and then came back to the East Coast, and I'm now in New York City. So stayed on the East Coast my entire life. And I work in finance now, working as like a data scientist, like strategist type of role, but essentially helping corporations tackle the capital markets, so like the financial markets, like whether they should raise money through going into like the stock market or if they should issue some sort of debt, things of that nature, and then running data analyses. So I studied like engineering, um, computational finance back in school, kind of technical fields there. Um, so yeah, just a little bit about me, and then I guess on the weekends, I actually just came back from like the Bahamas recently, so took a little vacation um, just to like relax and everything. But I try to do new things every day. Went like parasailing, like swimming with dolphins. But yeah, just trying to keep my days busy. I think most of my time is spent working for the most part.
Mhm.
I actually just like came back work early just to get on this call for you guys. Um, but yeah, I guess yeah, if you guys have any questions, happy to go into more details.
Okay, so what skill do you have that you think makes data analysis for finance good? Like what skills do you think that you have that translates good there?
So I don't know if it's something that I innately had or if something that I developed throughout the years, but I think coding helped a lot, like learning how to code, like programming in general, not just like actually physically coding, more like the thought process that goes behind it, like breaking things down into we call them like functions, but it's basically modularizing different processes into like digestible parts. And then these can be used elsewhere in other people's code, other people's process. So it's supposed to be very flexible. I think being able to think like that, and that also helps with strategy overall. Like if you're trying to advise a business, for example, or even just like something like working out, like something that I try to do. Um, like being able to think in that way is like kind of like a routine, I would say. Um, and having that like mindset. I think that's, and I've always been like kind of good at like math and science. I would say those are my better subjects with school. I'm like terrible at history, and like language, things like those. So definitely more towards like the STEM fields. That was like kind of where I found my strengths. But yeah, I would say, I mean, obviously many bright people, like way better than me, in those fields. I'm not like the greatest or anything, but I just think those were my particular strength, and I decided to focus on those areas.
Hmm. Do you
But I
think
don't know how focused you wanted to talk about like career, so happy to change everything to
you're good, man?
something else.
You're good, man. When you say focus, is focusing easy for you, or is it ever been like kind of tough? Like, um,
Um, I guess if I really want to do it, if
mhm,
if I really want to do it, then it's something like if I'm interested in looking something up, like, oh, this is interesting. I can kind of go down the rabbit hole and like research a bunch on a particular topic. And I find that like kind of like in the flow in some sense, like it kind of happens naturally. It's like I got the momentum, I just like kind of keep going, and then it makes it easier to read things. But if
mhm,
it's like text that's very archaic or abstract and like kind of tough to understand, or maybe I'm not interested in it, then I really have to like really read in and focus on what I'm reading, and then digesting that, breaking it down, and then being able to take away what I guess the author is trying to say. Um, I think in terms of like focus, it can kind of be like discipline in some sense, or like
mhm,
there's a part of it that can be discipline. Um, I think I'm not. I'm like decently disciplined, I would say. I don't know if I'm like. I definitely have to focus on doing that. It's not like something that comes naturally. Like I have to like write down notes, like, oh, reminder to take the lunchbox out of the fridge, for example. Because if I don't read that note, like when I come back to I'll like have a notebook on my desk. If I like go to the gym and then I remember to put the my lunchbox in the fridge, I'll write down a quick note because I know I'll look at that later, and then that kind of jogs my memory or things like that. But sometimes I don't even have to look at it. Just the act of writing it down kind of reinforces that, I think, and helps me store it. Um, but yeah, I think yeah, it's a tough question. So
mhm. Sounds
um,
good, man.
I mean, I try to focus as much as I can. Um, if it's valuable, I would say, like if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then I would rather do something else.
Okay.
How do you feel about authority and being told what to do?
I think it depends on who's telling me. If it's like a peer, I think I would question like what is this actually achieving? Like what is to deliver? And I think this kind of ties to my working dynamic. So I would say like in my um in my role in my company in my job, it's kind of entrepreneur like in the sense that I would come up with different analyses. So these are like essentially reports, like stuff that we would send to corporate clients. And then we have a lot of teams. They are essentially salespeople. They will talk to clients. So let's say they cover like technology companies, for example. They'll talk to like Apple. They'll talk to Google, your big companies. They're very focused on what they want to deliver. So then they'll come to me and then ask me for stuff, even if it just makes them look good, I think. But I think I would kind of push back and say, if it really makes sense to spend time on this, or if it's something that they can do on their own, then I would challenge that a little bit. If it's coming from like a super senior manager who's like constantly talking to clients and building that relationship with them, and I'm kind of like his go-to person, then I will do I guess the analysis for um, him or her, and yeah, I will say I'll definitely try to play devil's advocate to an extent. Like if I don't think it makes sense, I can kind of be a critic, I think. Uh, if I think an idea is worth pursuing, but if it makes sense, then yeah, then I agree.
Okay. Um,
What's the,
how do you know if something's true or false? Like if someone was to say, um, what is your defense against misinformation?
Like someone came to me, they say a statement, and then I try to verify that.
Yeah, how do you go
That's the
about
question.
like verifying misinformation?
I think I'll probably go to other sources or like Google, for example, or ask around. Or I think initially I'll try to use what I know, at
Mhm.
least to start, like if it makes sense initially. Like if it doesn't make sense, I think that's just the end of it, and like, or I'll challenge it or have them like try to defend it in some way. Um, but I can also be wrong a lot of the times. So I definitely try to verify, double check, triple check things, like especially if I'm sending stuff out. Um, but sometimes I think I can be gullible in that sense, where I kind of take things at face value and I don't verify it, and can kind of like bite me in the butt like down the line if I don't check it. So I think in that sense I have been a little bit mature in that I will take things with a grain of salt from people. Like if they just say it's like hard facts, I'll like make sure like it actually makes sense, like based on the knowledge that I have, based on my studying or like research or like news articles that I've read, like dynamics and trends that I've seen, like in the news, like the economy, things of that nature, just to make sense of it. If it's like around like finance topics or like economics, which I think is like pretty interesting because like a lot of those things you can kind of intuit, like if it makes sense, like if this reaction is supposed to be caused by whatever they're saying. Um, so yeah, I think that's hopefully that answers that question.
Perfect. What do you think is something that you do that sabotages yourself?
I think I can be lazy on documentation sometimes. This might also come back to that discipline topic that I mentioned before. So like logging things, like even just like workout stuff, I've been trying to be more diligent about it. So like making sure I track like all of my lifts, like the weight I use, how many sets do I do. I think one, it takes a lot of time. So I guess like you can say it's cutting corners a little bit. But I try to do it. If I'm like pressed for time, then I might like kind of skip it. I try to rely on my memory and maybe I'll backfill it. And then I think you know what happens. Like when you try to backfill, like it just doesn't happen most of the time. Is I think it's kind of hard for me to like kind of look back. And actually something that we do at work is we send out a bunch of emails, a bunch of like different deliverables. And then at the end of the week, we try to track how many like ad hoc requests we get. So these are like one-off requests and then quick turnarounds, like 2 hours or 1 hour. So like in the moment, it's very busy. You're like sending a bunch of emails, and then at the end of the week, I kind of dread that process of like looking back and like going through my emails, like saying, oh, I sent out to this person. I have to like document, okay, I sent it out to this person, like keep it in an Excel sheet that we centralize. I think it's a good practice for sure. I just don't think that I should be the one doing it. Or maybe there's a better way to do it. Like maybe like when we were actually submitting those types of requests, logging it at that time. Like I'd much rather prefer a process like where it's real time and then you log it, as opposed to like sending it out and then a week later you try to go back and then you have to remember to do that every week.
Where do you see your life in 10 years?
That is a good question. I'm actually not entirely sure. I have like I don't have like a definite answer. I have like some bits and pieces of things I want to pursue. So definitely I think like I want to improve in my career, like probably go towards like management in that sense. Hopefully being able to manage people or like um, who can essentially fill the shoes that I've been currently doing in my current role, and then being able to take on like more strategic visions down the line, as opposed to like being more tactical, which is what I think I am right now. Um, but I have like a couple other like milestones, um, like getting into property, getting into like investments. I think I've been pretty diligent on investing for myself in terms of like finance. So also just like investing in myself, like in other ways, like making sure my health is on point, making sure I'm like sleeping enough, just having a healthy lifestyle. So those are things I would say, yeah, those are like, I try to like focus on some key things, and then like we'll see if it happens in 10 years. I think usually like goals and timelines, like I think it's great to have them, because like having a deadline or like a timeline is very important to kind of help someone start doing something. But I think it's very hard to actually predict, oh, we're actually going to complete this in 10 years. Like it could be sooner, it could be later. So I think, yeah, a lot of things change. There are a lot of variables. But I think I have like a general approach of what I want to do, and like things I want to achieve, if that makes sense.
Yeah, man.
When you start a new project, do you find it easier to start it or finish it? You're thinking about starting.
So it's funny because like sometimes people in my team would start things, like they will help come up with an idea, or maybe they have an existing idea or something that has been circulating around, and then I will kind of pick it up and then build out a better process or make it more scalable, being able to like blast it out in like emails to a wider range of people. So like helping with that process. I think I like the idea of like switching projects, if that's the question. Like if I'm working on one project and then I work on a little bit, and then I can kind of switch my mind to another project. And like it kind of like makes things fresh and new in that sense. But I know like if it's something that really needs to get done, then obviously I'm going to like focus 100% of my time on like the first project and then get it to completion. But I think it's good to like have some progress here and there and like on a couple of different things, and then like push it across the line.
What is something that you're really proud of about yourself?
So I think this is more recent actually. So like at the like the end of COVID, or like guess during COVID, like working from home, like not going outside a lot, I kind of let myself go. So I was like eating a lot, very sedentary life. So I think in the last 3 years, I've really tried to force myself to be healthier, try to like take mental note of those things. So I'm proud of like the progress that I made in that aspect, just being able to be healthy. Um, and then yeah, just like trying to be someone, like I guess someone like that I want to look up to, like someone that I respect. So I think I'm getting there. Obviously, like there's no perfect, like no one's perfect. So definitely room for improvement, but that's something that I'm very happy about, and something I would not have thought that would even be achievable, like if you asked me 3 years ago. So looking back, like that's something that's like I'm like looking at pictures of myself and I'm like, wow, like that's great. And it's kind of like, yeah, redeveloping myself in a way. Like it's not even just like physical, it's more like mindset too. Just like the way about I think about things. Like even at work, I know like so I mentioned before I work in finance, like maybe you heard stories or like watch movies and stuff. But it's like people kind of work till like 2 a.m. They wake up at like 7 a.m. Um, I'm not really about like that life, honestly. I kind of like work whenever I want to work. I just like make things happen. Like I'll fill out my day, like these things need to get done. But if I find like a 1 hour gap, I'm gonna go down to the gym, and luckily my office has a gym like in the building, which is pretty great. So I can go like midday, come back up, like get back on the call, like run, like finish some work. And it works nice like that. I think like being able to be flexible like that is something that I enjoy, and something that I work best with. And it's also nice to like take your eyes off the screen for a little bit and just kind of like reset your mind and change the environment. But I would say like back in COVID, like working from home, I didn't like that at all, just because I was like kind of isolated. I think I wasn't as efficient because I couldn't really see other people around me, like working. Um, so yeah, but I think like even now, just with other people, it also can get loud at times. So there's always a balance, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What do you think is something that causes you to be stressed out?
I think if something needs to get done very quickly, and like a lot of people depend on it, it's kind of stressful. I tend to be someone who's quite calm, someone who doesn't try to show too much unsettlement or anxiety. I definitely feel I mean, I get anxious. Like if I have a big presentation, like I'll get nervous. Um, um, yeah, I think usually I try to prepare beforehand, which helps. Sometimes I can't prepare, and then it sometimes just kind of like flows out, and I think sometimes that works well too. But I think the anticipation of it is like kind of what gets me in like the nerves. Maybe that's like related to the starting idea. Because I think I have trouble like reaching out to people. I think like at work, if I have to like go follow up with people a lot, I don't know why, but it's just like it's kind of nerve-wracking to me sometimes. Or it's not like hard because I do it, but it's like every new time is like a new time. Like you have to keep doing it. And
Mhm.
then I'm just like, oh, okay. Like I have to do it all over again. Um, and it doesn't seem to get easier. I don't know why, but yeah.
So
What
if you ever went to jail, what would it be for?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
If you ever went to jail, what would it be for?
Um, Something illegal. No, okay. Uh, hmm. I don't know, probably something reckless. Hmm. Maybe like speeding, driving, something like that. Yeah, I try not to like get into fights or anything, for the most part.
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, like maybe just like breaking like street laws or something of that nature, or like, yeah, or getting caught doing something
Mhm.
that I shouldn't be doing.
Um, what makes somebody attractive to you, like qualities wise? Like if you're
Is
looking
this
for
for like French? It can be like friendships or like a relationship.
relationship, let's go for a relationship. Eager to see what you come up with.
Hmm. And this is like beyond physical, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, obviously they have to be physically attracted to me to start. Um, I think someone who I can like be comfortable talking to, someone who like I would say I'm kind of blunt and honest, so someone who can kind of accept that. I think I can kind of make people uneasy by stuff I say if it doesn't mesh with them a little bit. Like there are like some groups of people who my friends are friends with. I would say they're like kind of neutral about me, like we're not like super close. Um, but I think like, yeah, someone like ideal relationship is someone who's willing to listen or someone who kind of understands where I'm coming from, um, and is able to, or even if like they're, if they don't agree with what I'm saying, like at least being able to justify their reasoning, um, and then proving me wrong in that sense, or like just like coming up with a line of logic that uh will disprove like whatever I'm saying. Like and yeah, I think just someone who accepts me and then who's comfortable with like having me around, um and then doing the things that I like to do.
How important is advancing your career to you?
Well, like I said, a lot of my time is spent at work. So I would say nowadays it's like a majority of my time. I would say 80%, 80 to 90 focused on career. And I probably it's pretty fluid. So like obviously during the summer I've been like taking vacations and stuff, trying to enjoy myself a little bit. So then it's more on like me enjoying my life. Um, but then I think now coming back it's going to be more focused on career choices, and that's actually something that I've been thinking about, like whether or not because I do have like a master's degree, in finance, like computational finance, like engineering. But I think I was debating whether or not it was worth it to get a master's in business, like an MBA. So weighing that, if that was able to help my career, and I think like doing some research along that, that's something that I've been looking into. And I think the career focus, it can kind of be challenging for me because a lot of it is interacting with people, following up with people, like building good relationships with them, which is something that I'm trying to work on. And that's also what got me into personality types in the first place, was trying to understand people better, understanding like what people accept, like how do they interact, um, like yeah, essentially like how to interact with them and how to make people want to hang out with me, or like be able to show like my value to others. Um, but yeah, I think, yeah, answer to your question is, I would say mostly focused on the career aspect of things.
Do you see yourself as somebody who, what are your other hobbies? Like, what are your hobbies outside of work and gym?
So I recently got a motorcycle, so I've been doing that. I got my motorcycle license like a year ago. It actually took me a really long time to kind of commit to getting a motorcycle because I live in New York City, so it's like there's no really good reason why I should get it. I just kind of, I guess it was kind of impulsive. I just kind of wanted to get it. I've been watching like YouTube videos of people looking at reviews of like different motorcycles, and I was like really interested in it. So I've been doing that for the past couple months. I recently got it like a couple months ago, riding on the weekends and stuff. Um, I've been getting into like a boxing class nearby. So I guess it's kind of related to working out, but a little bit more on like the active sports things, trying to get more involved in like communities and groups and stuff. And I sometimes play with a couple friends I met in the building, in my apartment building, volleyball in like one of the fields nearby. And then yeah, usually on the weekends it's like going out to like restaurants with friends I went to grad school with, since we all like studied finance. Like a lot of us are in New York City in like the metropolitan area. So it's good that I have like a friend group in the city and close, and then we get to hang out a lot. So usually like grabbing dinners, grabbing drinks, like going out. Um, and yeah, and I like to read and like play video games too, like read books. I'm actually reading like a couple nonfiction books, and then one of like a fun like fiction book. Um, I think do you know Dune? Have you guys read that before?
No. What is that?
So they made a movie about it.
Oh, Doom. Like
Dune, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like because the new movie's coming out, I wanted to read about it. Also, I had a bunch of friends who read it. They had mixed reviews of it, so I kind of want to get my own perspective on it. So, and I thought it was interesting. I thought the movie was good. So, I've been trying to read more. I do like a lot of audiobooks. A lot of my books are more on like self-help, like, and like also like kind of career focused, like small talk with people, how to talk with people at work, how to um yeah, just like things of that nature, like the Dale Carnegie stuff.
Yeah, you read a lot, man. Shirley, what are you thinking here? You ready to wrap it up?
Yeah, I think we concluded.
All righty, man. So
Cool, I'm excited.
all right, so first off, man, dude, you're very systematic, man. Very systematic. You're always looking for the best approach. When you were talking about like breaking down the codes of things, when you were talking about coding earlier, and just being in the finance world and like coding and like the different things like that. You like your routine and whatnot. You're also looking for the better ways to do things. Always like when your friends give you something or whatnot, that's more of a systematic approach. You like taking a strategic role with things. It's also like more of a systematic. Strategic is usually NT related. You like to build a bigger, like whenever your friend handed you something or do something, then it goes to you and you try to like make it into a bigger process to grow it and like send emails or whatever you said. That's another systematic approach. So with that being said, you are systematic. So that's going to eliminate 8 types based off that. You are a TIFE user. Okay, you are a TIFE user. Everything has to be logically consistent with you. A ton of if this and that statements from you throughout this interview. You even talked about let's see, like your partner has to be able to like logically be able to disprove you or whatnot. So that's more of a TIFE thing. So with that, your TIFE and systematic, that's going to eliminate you down to pretty much 2 types here. That's going to be the SFJs and the NTPs. And unfortunately, man, you're pragmatic. Okay, you're all about freedom. So that's going to knock you down to 2 types here. That's going to be INTP or ENTP, and you are progression focus instead of outcome focus. So you're all about like the journey of life. You said a lot of, let me see what I got down here for progression. You talked about the like getting in the momentum of things and getting that going. So it's gonna be progression there. You were talking about milestones. That's tracking milestones. That's another progression thing. Things like that. And you're also initiating. Like you will change topic at whim on us. And I don't know if you noticed, me and Shelly just got overwhelmed by you talking. Very like initiating. So like initiating just means like you can change topic. Like you'll be talking about something and then you like switch it over to the book and then talking about doom and then switch back over to this, you know. So that's gonna be more of initiating. So with that being said, you're an ENTP, and dude, good luck. If you go and try to get typed by anyone else, they might type you ENTJ because you're very focused. ENTP, you're very focused one, very focused. They might type you ENTJ. They might type you INTJ. Just being honest with you, because you are very focused. You are a very focused ENTP. I don't think I've seen many ENTPs like you or Malcolm. It's rare. Usually, like they're all over the place, but you seem to be able to finish like getting your masters and all that type of thing. So yeah, you got yours ENTP, man. What did you type yourself?
Okay. So I initially thought I was INTJ. I don't know completely like what the TIFE like kind of stands for. Like, can you give like a quick summary of what that means?
So TI and FE is understanding. So they're about understanding. So TI is like you have a logical framework in your head and you go back to building that logical framework. So if something makes sense to that logical framework, you accept it. If it doesn't make sense to your logical framework, you reject it immediately. Then like, so it's very, you don't really care as much about expert opinion. You care about the truth of things. You can be objective with your analysis and take away your feelings from something to actually analyze it. As in a TFI user has a tougher problem with that. They may think they're being objective, but a lot of times they're really not. And they appeal to more like experts, like the expert says this, or this book says that, you know. As in a TI user, it feels very confident in their own thinking. They'll say a lot of if this and that statements. And FE is all about understanding people and like the empathy towards that, wanting to help people, taking on other people's needs, things of that nature. So that's going to be TI and FE. So I call it understanding to just like group it together, because one is like understanding like logical frameworks and things like that and referencing your logical framework, and the other one is understanding people. So
Okay,
that
that's interesting.
that would be your parent function would be TI, and your child function would be extroverted feeling, if you're a ENTP. So
Okay, and do you have like any examples of like ENTP or like, because I'm not really familiar with the ENTP type really.
Let's say Bruce
So,
Lee. Bruce Lee is an ENTP.
or like, I guess like, I know there's like a cognitive function stack. Like,
Mhm.
can you go through and kind of explain like the top four, for
Okay.
example, like what did that actually mean?
So, as an ENTP, the first function is extroverted intuition. So,
Mm-hmm.
extroverted intuition is what people would call the brainstorming function or the idea generator. It can generate ideas from anything, and it likes so any users like to not be held down to a set routine or anything. They like to just bounce around, kind of like what you were talking about with your day, where you were saying like, hey, if I got a free hour, I'll go to the gym. If I do this, and I'll do that. Like you're just bouncing around, and that kind of makes you happy. But like NE for itself is about brainstorming. It thinks about the what if, thinks about the metaphysical. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's abstract. These people generally are very good speakers like yourself. It's kind of like verbal agility. Um, that's going to be more the NE approach there. Basically, it just sees all the possibilities for things. So a lot
Okay.
of them have trouble focusing because they see the possibility in so many things. And sometimes you could be chasing a possibility that doesn't yield fruit, if you get what I'm saying. Because they'll like start a lot of things and don't finish anything, because they see possibilities. There's a new possibility. There's a new possibility. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I see this. Now I don't give a fuck about what that was anymore. That was cool. I made $1 million off that. But hey, I'm gonna go chase this other idea or this idea. So they're always on the cutting edge of innovation a lot of times. It's more
Okay.
creative. It's more of a creative thing. And then TI we just talked about is like a logical framework.
Right.
These people have to everything has to make sense to them. If it does not make sense to them, then it's automatically rejected, no matter what. These people can be objective with analysis. They can take away their feelings from something to actually analyze it. That's going to be your parent function. And ENTPs can be brutally honest with TI to where it can be very obnoxious dealing with them because they're always going to like hit you like, bro, that's not correct. Or bro, that don't make sense, or like
Mm-hmm.
say something, it's like just say if you say something around ENTP, you better make sure that shit's fucking right. Because they gonna be like, yo, bro, like that don't sound right. Like, bro, did
Uh-huh.
you check that? Like, oh, that's an incomplete analysis. Like, especially if you bring them like a study or something, they'll be like, bro, let me tell you why that study's flawed. And here are the reasons
Mm-hmm.
why. Like, they're very good at that.
Okay.
The third function is extroverted feelings. So it's the childlike function. So in the third slot, it's going to give you ups and downs in life. But it gives us energy using it. So you really like got to make sure that some people would call it, you use it on the weekend or whatnot. Don't let the child function destroy your life. You can see like a lot of ENTPs, if they see somebody in a bad situation or something, they'll just rush in and go help that person because their FE is so childlike, but not knowing that, they're particularly putting themselves at risk here,
Mm-hmm.
because you run over to go help this person and you don't even know what the fuck is going on. And now you're in this situation,
Yeah.
that bad outcomes there. And then SI inferior is going to be about duty, tradition, honor, discipline. That's the fourth slot. ENTPs like to be comfortable. They like to have stability. They like to, but this is what their inferior function is. So because extroverted intuition, it causes SI problems. So because they're like running and gunning with new ideas and everything, they often make themselves uncomfortable a lot. Or it's like something they want to work on is their health or something like that. Because they're chasing all these ideas, they kind of like don't check on their health as much as they should, or like their duties and stuff like that. But as they get older, they'll work on that function and get a lot better. Like they'll start, like my friend Ketch, like he really makes sure he doesn't drink alcohol. He works out. He's really taking care of his SI inferior just to make sure like it's
Okay.
internal sensation.
That's interesting. Because I feel like I try to do that, but like once I start, I can't stop in a sense. Like if I'm going out with my friends on the weekends, like that night, it could be like a heavy night. but it's like kind of rare. So does that like kind of fall in line with what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it falls in line. Just they worry, like the last ENTP we were talking about, he worries that in the future, his body won't be able to do what he wanted to do in the future, you know.
Hmm.
So he's
Okay.
kind of worried about that. So he's trying to take steps to be more proactive and taking care of his health. Um, but that's the first four functions, man.
Okay. Well, that was interesting to learn. I learn new things every day. That's good.
Yeah. What do
And
you think?
Shelly, you came to the same type?
Yeah, yeah, we message each
Okay.
other, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
okay, cool.
message each other.
That I go through.
Yeah, she has a clipboard too.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised about the initiating because I see myself as kind of a shy person. Like I don't really talk as much, like in meetings and stuff. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that or like if there's an explanation or I don't know.
See, the thing about ENTPs is they're like, I would say they're the most introverted extrovert. If that
Hmm.
if that makes sense to you. My
Okay. Yeah.
brother, he's an ENTP. He fucking hates people. He fucking hates people. But when he starts talking, he doesn't shut the fuck up. You're like, he don't shut the fuck up. You're like I remember when we were kids, my mom would put him on a talking band because he can just talk. He can just fucking talk. She'd be like, "Rest your mouth, boy." Like ENTPs can really talk. Like if you go back when I repost a video, just watch it. You can see yourself just like talking, talk, talk, talk. Like holy shit. Me and Shelly just sitting back like holy shit, you know. But I mean, it's a good thing, man. I wish I had the ability to talk like that, you know. I was very jealous of my older brother because he could just talk for hours. So like whenever he was talking to a girl or something, he could stay on the phone forever with the girl, and then my ass would run out of like whatever I had strategized before
Hmm.
in 3 minutes. Then I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll call you later. You know, my brother could just sit there and just talk all day to the girl, like 3 hours on the phone. I'm just sitting there like, man, I wish I could fucking do that. So it's got its ups and downs, you know. They would call
Okay.
it verbal agility. Yeah, very
Okay.
good at speaking. These people are very good at speaking. You'll see like Malcolm X is an ENTP. Adolf Hitler, unfortunately, is ENTP. Um,
Oof.
what others ENTPs are? There's a lot of them.
What are the like the
Bruce
strengths and
Lee.
weaknesses? I guess you kind of talked about them a little bit.
So the
Like
strength,
I guess more on the weaknesses. I guess like the strengths are it sounds like they're like self-starters or like they come up with a lot of new ideas.
Mhm.
So maybe like on the idea generation front.
Mhm.
But what are like some of the weaknesses, would you say? And like how do like if I were to like take the advice, like how do I kind of combat that or like become more mature? Like how would that work?
So man, you seem to be doing fucking phenomenal for yourself. I'm not even gonna sit here and lie to you. You seem
Thank
to
you.
be doing pretty well. So it's not much I can really say, but the things that ENTPs really struggle with is starting a lot of things and finishing nothing.
Hmm.
They can really struggle with money, you know, because they're just starting shit and not finishing anything. You know, a lot of them, I think you're maybe the first ENTP I've seen that has like finished school or has a master's degree. I don't know if I've seen other ENTPs, but generally speaking, because they like to start shit and don't finish it, it's hard for them to make it through school. And plus, school's a TE thing, you know, like school's like a more TE structured type thing versus a TI thing. You rarely get to like use like a logical framework. It's like basically learn what I'm telling you, you know.
Yeah. And I
So
was actually terrible at school initially. I
yeah.
had to really like sit down and like force myself,
Mm-hmm. So
and I'm still not that great.
a
So
lot of times they'll
it's
put like
tough.
a lot of times they'll put any users or ENTPs or whatever on Adderall,
Hmm.
try to make them focus. You know, make them focus. They'll really struggle with that. But then they'll get on like Adderall or whatnot, which I don't recommend because it takes away your creativity. But I mean, if you have to do it, then you have to do it. Another thing is that
Yeah. I think
ENTPs.
my issue with that is more on like sleep because
Mhm,
it's essentially like coffee times 100, right? So
mhm,
you can just messes up your sleep overall.
yeah.
That's just my take.
Another
I
thing is
try
that
to not do
ENTP
coffee as much.
ENTPs struggle with things that's important to them or things that they value, um, or
Hmm.
just overall an identity of themselves. That's going to be your trickster function. you're really going to struggle with that. So what that looks like is you'll see a lot of ENTPs that just trade masks for per room, you know. They can just put on a mask to fit this group and then put on a mask to fit this group. You'll just see them shift around, you know. You can see like Tupac Shakur was an ENTP, and like before he wanted to be a dance. He was in drama. He's a totally different guy. And then Tupac 1996 is, you know, most wanted, you know, type guy, you know, thug, you know, thug life type shit, you know. He just wearing a fucking mask. It's like, is that even the real you? You know, that's a thing there. They wear a lot of masks that they lose their own identity, like figuring out who they are, what do they value, what's important to them. It's going to be an era of problem there. But also,
okay. Interesting.
You'll see some ENTPs will sprinkle in a little bit of truth with some lies, and then they'll spread it over the internet. They're very good at that shit. If you watch people like Andrew Tate or whatnot, he's an ENTP. He sprinkles in some truth, and then he spreads that with a point that he wants to get across. Or even Destiny just flat out saying he's gonna mix in some truths with some lies, like, you know, like flat out fucking saying it. You know, they don't have a problem like just being a shitty person, if that makes sense, bro. Like they don't have a problem.
I think certain enneagrams, I don't
think the
one we think you are is necessarily like that.
Yeah, but I just got to give it to him. I got to give him everything, the raw, the truth, everything. But yeah, they can be dirtbags, very dirtbags. The one thing I have a problem with is what an ENTP, like when they're around you, they love you, and then when they're not around you, they can do some dirtbag shit to you, boy. You know, like they could do like some very dirtbag shit, you know. But when they're around people, they make people feel good and stuff like that. And they may hate the person. It's crazy to me, you know. They may hate the person, but they'll make the person feel good. And then like later on, they'll like be strategizing that person's downfall. You know, I'm just like, these motherfuckers, man, these motherfuckers. But that's just, you know, there's different types of ENTPs, like the ones that are 4s. You gotta watch out for Enneagram 4. We think you're probably Enneagram 3. We think you're Enneagram 3. Okay. I'll probably say that you're probably a 3. What do you think, Tom? God damn, I almost called you Thomas. Shelly, what do you think Enneagram 3 what?
That's a little hard.
3-2, 3-4. What you thinking? 3-2, probably right. This one's more logical. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah. Because he doesn't seem to be going through melancholy or anything like that. I don't really see that with him. Yeah.
What was that? 2, 3?
3-2.
3-2.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what you
I'm
get
not very familiar with the Enneagram. I think I've looked up like 3 as like the achiever, right? But I don't know like too much about it.
Yeah.
Is that like something that can change over time, or like how does that work?
I don't think Enneagram really changes over time. I think like people are born with a set type, right? And then the nurture that you're in kind of pushes you into an Enneagram. Then like some types are more likely to go into certain Enneagrams, but generally speaking, it's mostly like how you grew up as a child, like how was your, you know, childhood structure and whatnot.
Okay.
So 3s generally have a pretty good childhood structure.
And what is 2?
2 is a I think it's called the helper. So like they're more into like helping people and stuff. Kind of like if you see, you know, like if you think about someone's grandmama, that grandmama that feeds everybody like cookies and all that type of shit, that's going to be more of a 2. But they can be differently if you get like a 2 that's social versus SP, which is self prevalence and sexual. Like, so there's 3 different types of 2s. There's like a super focused achievement one that probably Martin Luther King is. But then there's the other 2 that's kind of like always trying to help people, dropping their knees, taking on other people's needs all the time, like those type of people. They really
Okay.
have trouble. They really have trouble, like, you know, not like taking on someone's needs or something. Like I work with this one coworker, and she's an ENFJ, and she's a 2, and like she goes above and beyond to help people like all the time. It's almost like she's a slave to it, even though she doesn't even want to do it. It's crazy. But
Yeah, I think I can relate to that a little bit with
yeah,
a couple friends I have.
yeah. I mean, you got FE child, man. So yeah, it wants to help people.
Yeah, my issue is like it's hard to let go sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. What do you usually get on tests?
So when I first did it in high school, I got ENTJ. I didn't really think much of it.
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten ENTP before,
Mm-hmm.
and then also INTJ, and then
Mm-hmm.
also like ISTJ, which is
Mm-hmm.
strange, but I kind of figured I was like one of the NT types,
Yeah,
which is like okay. Um, but yeah, I
yeah.
really appreciate the knowledge and the wisdom. It was helpful. I
Hey,
enjoyed it.
let us know, man. I know you're gonna do your research and verify everything I said. So, I mean, that's what TI does. It goes and verifies shit. Um, but we'll be in the group, man. You got a question or anything, just go ahead and ask anytime, man.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I really appreciate the content you guys provide. I find them very entertaining and helpful, and you definitely know your stuff. So keep at it.
All right, brother. Take it easy, man.
Thanks. You too. Have a good one.